I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Doug Ramshaw, President at Minera Alamos. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Charlotte. Good to see you again.
We're here at the Precious Metals Summit in Beaver Creek. It's very busy for you. I was going to ask if you could start off by telling me a little bit about the company and key things going on for you right now.
Sure. We're a Mexican-focused gold mine developer, and in fact, in short order, we will move to gold mine builder as we begin construction sometime in November at our first of two mines that we plan to build over the next couple of years. And I think that gives us a pretty unique company. There's probably half a dozen or so companies right now that are not gold producers that should be producers in the next 12 months, and I think that plays obviously very well to the current gold environment we're in, and we're excited to build the business.
Talk to me a little bit about the current gold price environment. How is that impacting you as a company right now?
It's funny because I think the tale of our story, and we've had a very good run during this period of rising gold prices. I believe that if gold had stayed flat at 1,300, we would have seen most of that movement in our stock price purely because of the execution we've done on permits and such things. So, you know, we're still in the development phase rather than producing, so a rise in gold price is certainly helping sentiment, but I don't think is really behind our move. I think that will come as we go into production.
Do you have any prediction or forecast for what's coming for gold? I have to ask.
I mean, I've never been one to prognosticate on the gold price. I think our business model is not predicated on needing higher gold prices. We run all our modeling at $1,250. We're going to make money at $1,250 gold. The rest should be left on the table for our shareholders as upside, as opposed to hoping gold gets to a certain level so our projects work. So, I do believe that we're in the early stages of a more bullish gold market, and it's certainly reflected in the current price. Hopefully, as a new gold producer, we can capture that, and our shareholders will benefit.
What is your sense of sentiment in the gold market right now? What are you seeing from your shareholders or elsewhere?
Our shareholders are obviously very happy with our execution of our business plan. But I think in general terms, I was going to say proud of how the retail market is handling this current move in gold. We're not seeing a repeat of the first half of 2016 where we saw kind of a rising tide lifts all boats. I think the problem there is capital gets spread too thinly. A lot of those companies really can raise money to clean up their books, but not really deploy it into the ground. And if we're going to be taken seriously as a mining business by generalist investors, we need to deploy capital accretively. And so I think you're seeing a lot of very targeted investments right now in not necessarily the cream of the crop, but certainly the upper 30% of companies seemingly are attracting the more capital. And there are a lot of companies probably don't feel like gold has moved from 1,300. It's just as challenging still. And I think that selectivity by retail investors and institutional investors is smart, and it's best to be focused.
So you would say there's a mix coming right now from retail and institutional investors into the gold space?
Yeah, I think largely there's some euphoria that retail investors are starting to see some money that they can make in mining stocks after, obviously a very lackluster period of time. I think we're probably seeing some hot money move over from some of the other sectors like marijuana that were the momentum plays for a long time. Gold's certainly gaining some momentum now. But I think we're really at the early stages now. There's not a huge influx of capital yet, but I think that will come in time.
You're not the only one who seems to be mentioning these more generalist investors coming into the space. You see that as a good thing?
We're lucky as a company. Almost 20% of our shareholders are generalist investors, and I think that's because our business model speaks to them. They understand, like a company that actually has a desire to build a profitable, sustainable business, as opposed to crossing one's fingers and hoping that Mother Nature bestows you a discovery on a drill hole. So I think, for us at least, we are seeing generalist investors, and we welcome them as shareholders. They're very supportive, and they also have a longer term perspective in terms of the investment, which when you're building a company, you need to have supporters that share a 3 to 5 year window of growth in a company. Yeah.
And going back to your earlier comment, you're not the first person today who's compared the current environment to 2016. It seems like there's a lot of that going on. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
I mean, 2016 was, I think after the 4 years that preceded it, there was just such a relief that certain stocks were catching a bid, and there was a lot of money thrown at the sector. But, if you actually kind of pass where that money got spent, a lot of it really cleaned up the books of companies that had been on fumes for several years leading into it. So we didn't see a lot of money deployed into the ground. So it was a pretty short-lived phenomenon, and then we had 2017 and 2018 that followed it, and it was like back to the same old, same old. So that kept a lot of companies alive, and but I think, so I'm glad that we're getting a different dynamic in the market this time, because I think shareholders, if they're investing capital into companies, should expect that capital to be deployed in an accretive manner within a business model that can obviously ultimately return sustainable returns to them. So, I'm very happy with how the investor is adapting to these, headline-making gold prices of late, with a certain amount of prudence still, and I think that's smart, and I think we're healthier as a sector to see that intelligence in investing right now.
Okay, that's a lot of great commentary on the gold market. But I want to take it back to your company as we wrap up. What are the immediate next steps that investors should be looking for?
We're going to have a funding package in place in the next, hopefully 6-7 weeks for our first mine build. It's a very low capex build, sub $10 million. Largely will be done without equity dilution. So we'll start construction on that mine in November. It should be into production next summer. And that's an exciting time, because we finally kind of break away from being a gold developer to one of the very few new gold producers, and we think that's a fantastic way for our shareholders to capture this move in the gold prices, producing the stuff, right?
Okay, that's perfect. I'll let you go for now, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, that's great, Charlotte. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks. And once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and this is Doug Ramshaw with Minera Alamos.